Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
It's been a week of recovery after the calamity of Mount Panorama, and tonight we enter the second half of the Northwest GT3 Challenge for an hour around the high-speed Autodromo Nazionale Monza for our third trip to Europe. Two-time race winner Garrett D'Alessandro continues to hold a comfortable points lead over his competitors, but one mistake could put the likes of James Hansen and Gavin Cohn right back into the fray, with race winners Chris Brunnemer and Brady Lubenow waiting in the wings. Welcome, race fans, to Pit Stop TV. As usual, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter tonight. JP Costa joins me in the booth. Trey Shuttlesworth is on social media coverage. I am Andrew Cardinale IV, and this is Pit Stop TV's live coverage of the Northwest GT3 Challenge from Autodromo Nazionale Monza. I think that's the last time I'll say the full name because I keep butchering it. We join you tonight from the virtual Monza, Italy for round 6 of 10 on the season. And JP, it's so good to have you back with me. A week off certainly changes things up. Although we were together last week for the Operation E Motorsport iRacing League Series finale. But man, it's just a little bit different when you don't have a Northwest race, eh? But no, I'm so glad to have these guys back here on the channel for their 6th race on the season. Qualifying currently underway. How about Sarah Rabb going to the top of the board so far? 4 cars have clocked a lap around this extremely fast course here. It's super historic, just north of Milan, Italy, in what is Monza, Italy, and I really look forward to seeing how these guys tackle this place this evening, JP. We all know how fast Monza can be. We all know how treacherous it can be, getting slowed down for turn 1, going through Curva Grande, into the second chicane, the Lesmos 1 and 2, down through the chicane, double chicane that is Ascari, and around Parabolica to wrap up a lap at this place. Treachery waits around every single bend for these drivers, yet this is also one of those tracks that provides amazing racing because of the overtaking, the slipstreaming opportunities for these drivers to create passing opportunities and take advantage of the passing zones that do lie around Monza. Thank you for joining me, of course, JP. I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. We're seeing how these drivers are qualifying so far. 16 drivers have set a time. Who is your pick out of this entire field right now? If you were betting, who is your one driver that you pick to win the pole?
I guess you just place me on the worst track possible to actually bet on someone, because this track is just so, you just need to be on the slipstream of the car ahead of you. Just as you're seeing pretty much everybody's running duels. As you can see now, Trevor Anderson goes fastest of a 148.9. But it's just, no, this track you just have to be on the slipstream to try to be able to get the pole. You know, we've seen that on F1, we've seen that in the GT World Championship. And qualifying here is just, you know, this exciting because you just have to be on that slipstream. But I guess I'm going to go with the safe bet. I'm going to go for Chris Brunnemer. He set the fastest time on practice. Obviously, I'm pretty sure he had slipstream as well. But, you know, that lap time was already beaten. But I'm going to go with Chris. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm not a betting man. I don't think I'm going to bet anybody on this. No. You know, it could really beat anybody in this one. Chris Brunnemer does actually make you look pretty good. He goes to the top of the board. It really depends on who teams up with who. Currently, you see Garrett D'Alessandro. I believe he's in front of James Hansen, and he is. And it looks like these two are working together so far. I would not be surprised if guys like Garrett D'Alessandro and Chris Brunnemer actually end up struggling to find positions in this qualifying session. Of course, you said it perfectly. It is dictated by the slipstream, and you are going to have to get a monster draft around every straightaway on this racing circuit in order to lay down the best lap in this qualifying session. Let's first take a look at the track map. We've already mentioned going around into the first chicane, Curva Grande, into the second chicane, Lesmos 1 and 2, Ascari, Parabolica, but this is the track map that these drivers are dealing with tonight. It's the traditional, at this point, Grand Prix circuit here of Monza. No real surprises, just go out there and see what you can do.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pretty straightforward circuit, you know, it's just heavy braking zones, long straights, you know, just plenty of overtaking opportunities. I guess it's just one of the classic circuits. Not a lot of elevation changes that are going to play a major factor. I don't think tire wear is going to be a major factor here as well. Obviously, as it's a 1 hour race, drivers are going to be looking a lot towards the field strategy because, you know, you can just save, obviously, heavy braking zones, just lift and coast before every single heavy braking zone. And, you know, I feel like that's going to be the name of the game on the first stint. But after that, it's just going to be straight up pushing. As you can see, Travis already pushing, qualifying. Some people are unfortunately spinning. But, you know, after the second stint, after the first round of pit stops, it should be straightforward attack, you know, dive bombs, and it should be a very interesting race.
Absolutely. We've already talked about a little bit of the point situation and who's good, really who's hot and who's not. Let's take a look at our top 10 in the point standings. Garrett D'Alessandro with a 26-point cushion. That is incredible that he's worked up to a 26-point lead over James Hansen, Gavin Cohn right there with him. Any one of these, I guess, top 5 can get up there in strike and Garrett D'Alessandro within a couple of races' time, but I don't think you'll be able to do it in just one race. It's going to take some big slides, some big issues from Garrett in order for these guys to make up enough points to get up there and challenge for a championship. We are getting down to crunch time for these guys. You see the back end of the top 10, John Whitendorf, John McClintock, both tied in 9th and 10th. Chris Brennemer up 5 spots with his second win on the season, winning at Bathurst 2 weeks ago to follow up his win at Interlagos. James Allen, Justin McKayla, they're tied 6th and 7th. Trevor Anderson drops a spot. He falls behind Brady Lubenow, who won at Okayama. And of course, Garrett D'Alessandro has been so good all season long, winning the first 2 races out at Barcelona and Brands Hatch.
But obviously, let's not forget that Bathurst, I guess, just wasn't his race. You know, we saw him doing the same mistake twice, which we haven't seen all season long. So it just shows that, you know, even though he's consistently at the front, you know, battling for first place, he can still make mistakes. And I guess the same goes for James Hansen, because I'm pretty sure he was just like 3 points behind Garrett at one point in the season, and just 2 straight bad races obviously dropped him all the way down to minus 26, you know, as you look at the delta, I guess. And Gavin Cohn, you know, just been on a great form and now 3rd place fighting for 2nd. So, you know, we should, after this race, we should be seeing a big shakeup in the point standing, because a lot of people are, you know, just 1 or 2 points differing from each other.
Absolutely. Let's quickly walk you through some of your qualifying standings, and we see it's actually pretty straightforward up at the top. Chris Brennemer currently fastest in this qualifying session. You're watching Garrett D'Alessandro, James Hansen, and Justin Craig go down the straightaway that leads from Ascari down to Parabolica. Trevor Anderson, Sarah Robb currently rounding out the top 3. Garrett D'Alessandro sits 4th, James Allen 5th, John Whitendorf 6th, James Hansen in 7th. Alan Roth, how about this guy? Alan Roth in P8 right now in qualifying. I know he's a fan favorite. We also have Brady Lubenow in the top 10, Mikhail Rudebush, Michael Dalling, Sven Hartman. A lot of guys actually mixing things up here at the front end of qualifying. That's what we want to see from a place like Monza.
And not only that, we're seeing a lot of different cars occupying the first few positions. We do see a Ferrari in 1-3, a BMW in 2nd place, and nowadays in Garrett D'Alessandro in 4th place. So we do see quite a bit of separation between the cars. As you can see now, James Allen in the bright red BMW as he gets the massive slipstream. And does that shoot him up in the grid? Unfortunately, it doesn't. But, you know, it's just nice to see different cars, you know, not seeing just one straight up manufacturer dominating, and just showing the quality of these drivers, just, you know, making each car work on pretty much every single circuit.
Absolutely agree there. And before we get too far into things, of course, we want to talk about some of our partners here for the Northwest GT3 Challenge. Of course, we'll begin with league partners and sponsors. 425 Motorsports caters and specializes in automotive racing and driving equipment for all automotive enthusiasts. 425 also offers a full automotive shop for any car project you may have. 425 Motorsports is privileged to bring the Northwest some of the best equipment on the market. Head over to www.425motorsports.com for more information about them. PGP Motorsports Park is a 22-acre go-kart racing venue with miles and miles and miles and miles of asphalt road and panoramic mountain views. Located next to the Pacific Raceways in Kent, Washington, you can head over to pacificgp.com for more information. Want to give a shout out as well to Skull Sim Gear. Button boxes, PC accessories, and more for many games such as iRacing, Assetto Corsa, Elite Dangerous, Truck Simulator, and many more for the sim racing or casual driver. You can head over to skullsimgear.com for more information on them. And of course, before we go any further, we got to mention that donation link, the Laureus donation link. Northwest GT3 Challenge broadcasts are brought to you by MASH donations to Laureus Sport for Good. Founded under the patronage of Nelson Mandela, Lorea's Sport for Good uses sport as a powerful and cost-effective tool to help children and young people overcome violence, discrimination, and disadvantage in their lives. Over the past 2 decades, they have helped develop a global network of grantee partners and a worldwide charitable infrastructure. They've also developed a depth of understanding and corresponding credibility in their field and are recognized as a leading organization in the fast-growing sport for development community. Please help Northwest GT3 support such an incredible cause by placing a donation today. I will provide that link in all of our chats, be it Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, doesn't matter. I'm putting that link in the chat now so you can check it out and hopefully donate today. Watching some of these drivers mix things up around the racetrack as they're trying to get their qualifying laps in and go up towards the top of the board. Trevor Anderson's been unseated at second place, and now that position goes to John Whitendorf. So how about that? John Whitendorf pulling a pretty good qualifying run, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he contends for this race win. We saw him contend at another European circuit, not quite Italian, but how about Spanish at I can't even think, at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. So John Whitendorf knows how to get around these Western European circuits.
And obviously this, I guess, is his best chance, because it's just so hard to pull away from the guy behind on this racetrack, because as we said many times, they're going to keep saying that it's just the massive straights just keep pulling the car behind of you. So, you know, John, if he can keep up with Chris, obviously they're on the same car, they're pretty much they're on the Ferrari as well. So if he can keep on that 1 second, 1.2 second slipstream zone, he's going to be pulling, you know, he's going to be pulled back towards Chris, and hopefully he can fight for the win after the rounds of pit stops. But, you know, Chris on qualifying just seems unbeatable. Well, over 0.3 of a second, no, 2.5, I guess, 2.5 tenths of a second clear in a track like this is a lot of time, and I'm pretty sure if he had a lot of slipstream on that lap, but, you know, he just seems on form, just like he was last week, you know, the week before. Sorry, not last week, the last round and the round before. No, just as usual for him.
As these guys wind down their qualifying session, a little over 5 minutes to go, let's take a look at the weather conditions these drivers are battling. Of course, we do have relatively realistic weather conditions, just like you would see in real life. That's what realistic means, and you can replicate just about any normal racing condition aside from inclement weather like rain and such. But you can definitely have quite a bit of control over the way that these racetracks, race cars, and everything else handle, even the air density by virtue of humidity and such. The air temp, right around 85.5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's, I believe, right around 29, maybe 30 degrees Celsius. It's actually pretty warm. Track temp, 91 degrees, also a bit up there. Wind from the east, right around 6.9 miles an hour, kind of hovering right around there, dropping down about 6.5. And of course, we are located in Monza, Italy. Definitely a warm set of track conditions for these drivers to work through. You can see a lot of rubber already being left on the racetrack. I think the fact that we have a relatively hot racetrack is just going to add to that. I think these tires are going to be roasted by the time this race is done. It's not necessarily a heavy cornering racetrack, I suppose, as opposed to places like, I don't know, the Nürburgring Grand Prix, but the corners that you do have, you have a lot of heavy braking, and they definitely can wear these tires out, especially right here at Curva Grande. You are relying on all of the car's lateral and downforce grip to get you around that corner quickly and safely, and then you head down to another heavy braking zone like Turn 3. The Lesmos are pretty hard on tires as well. This whole racetrack, despite being a lot of on-throttle time, pretty hard on tires.
Yeah, exactly. Not only the lateral grip, as you said, in under braking, obviously, as we do have a lot of chicanes and slow corners, we do have a lot of traction zones, and we're seeing on the qualifying cars just getting sideways all, you know, pretty much out of every single corner, because these drivers are just pushing to the limits, and, you know, those tires are just getting worn out, and they get, you know, with the traction loss and all that sort of stuff. So obviously they're gonna have to look towards that, towards the race. Obviously it's a 1 hour race, so these tires are easily gonna make it through, but not on the best condition. But it's definitely going to be interesting if someone gambles on tires. I doubt it, but, you know, we may see something crazy tonight.
I think we'll definitely see at least some crazy stuff out here this evening. Again, this place is definitely going to provide some interesting racing. We're going to see a lot of big slipstreams, a lot of big drafts, a lot of big piles off into the corner. Here we see a trio of race cars headed down the straightaway, well, around turn 6 technically, from turn 5, which is Lesmo 2, down to Ascari. Sarah Rabb in this, James Allen, as well as, I know who that is, Christopher Raftees. He's made a move from a Mercedes to a Ferrari this week, and I'd imagine that the Child's Play number 79 will stay in that Ferrari 488 the rest of the season. Again, Mercedes just don't seem to be very popular, though we had the USRA American Le Mans Series with the Mercedes and the Audi, and the Mercedes was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I guess it's just when it comes down to all the GT3 cars, it just doesn't stack up as the best. But, you know, when it's just the Mercedes and the Audi, I guess it can be the best in some circuits. But, you know, it's just a trend that we're seeing on iRacing at the moment with the BOP. You know, the Mercedes just doesn't seem to be the quickest, even though it can match the Audi on some racetracks. The Audi just seems overall the better car. You know, maybe it's just a little bit easy on tires. Obviously, as we know, it's very, very tricky to drive the Audi. It's very on the edge. But, you know, just every driver seems to prefer the Audi for some odd reason. I cannot really commentate on that because I'm not really into the GT3s. But, you know, unfortunately, we don't see that. You know, it's not another car that we can use on the broadcast. But, you know, hopefully in the next season, we can see some more of those German cars around the circuit.
There's plenty of German cars in the Audis, but yeah, the Mercedes very light on entries. I think still at 0 now that Christopher Raftees has left Mercedes for a Ferrari. I'd like to see some McLarens as well. I mean, just 0 McLarens all season long. We at least had a few races there with some Mercs playing around with this Northwest GT3 Challenge field. Currently watching Michael De La Sala and Jackson Lowry head down into Ascari. And these guys all just trying to get some times down, trying to get themselves accustomed to Monza. It's a big one. It's one of those racetracks that I think everybody wants to do well at, but it's pretty tough to do so, just because you are relying so heavily on having low amounts of drag, trimming your car out, but at the same time, you've got to get around these corners and get around them well. You're going to sacrifice a lot of straightaway speed.
And not only that, you do also have to be careful with the other people around you because, you know, just heavy braking zones, if you just miss your braking point by 10 meters, you're just going to be plowing to the back of the car ahead, and that's definitely not what any of these drivers want. But, you know, it's definitely something that Monza provides. You know, we see that on real-life racing, and I hope we don't see that tonight, but it's a very, very likely scenario. But, you know, we've seen these drivers just keeping it clean throughout the race, and I hope we see the same here tonight.
Mick Blue up to P13. You see him passing Trevor Anderson. Mick Blue, not technically on Whiplash Racing, but those Whiplash Racing drivers have been working with Mick in recent weeks. Here's Trevor Anderson going through that first chicane and picking up, you don't want to pick up those boards that break up that corner and direct you to pull that slalom. That could be a problem for Trevor here on the back end of qualifying, but I don't think he's really going for a lap time at this point. And it looks like he's going to try and get it off of his nose, probably just escape back and go to the pits. Gavin Cohn currently sits in third. Garrett Alessandro's made it up to second, and Chris Brennemer first. So really, nothing too surprising just yet in qualifying. I'm not sure if that's going to change here now that the checkered flag has flown, and we just have about 2 minutes for these guys to wrap up their laps.
Yeah, exactly. I guess the surprise is Gavin Cohn, you know, making that BMW work, but Garrett Alessandro in the Audi, as we know, he doesn't have the greatest straight line speed, making it to second place. That's a really good place for him to start. Obviously, he's just going to be right behind Chris and probably just going to be sliding back to the slipstream. But, you know, it's definitely a close qualifying session from even second all the way down into 7th. You know, pretty much less than 0.2 of a second. Actually, 0.3 of a second between 2nd and 7th. So it's a really close grid tonight, and I guess it's going to provide some awesome racing.
Well, you know, that is what happens when you're in a place that relies heavy on the slipstream. 3rd and 4th, you can see on your ticker there, Gavin Cohn, John Whitendorf, separated by just 1/1000th of a second. 0.253 back for Gavin Cohn, 0.254 back for John Whitendorf. That's pretty incredible. That 3rd and 4th are separated by just 1/1000th of a second here at Monza. This is truly one of the more incredible circuits to bring some GT cars to. You saw, wow, the Audi of Jackson Lowry very loose through Curva Grande. He bails on that lap. Looks like his qualifying efforts are done. James Allen, the final car on the racing surface.
Yeah, looks like qualifying pretty much wrapped up. James looks like he's still going for a lap, so hopefully he can improve his position. Obviously, it's really hard if you don't have a duo, a partner to do it, but you know, we just have to wait and see. His last lap was 3/10 slower, so I'm not really sure if he has enough in the tank. But you know, just qualifying as close as ever, I guess. We're gonna see. Unfortunately, we do have some cars that didn't qualify, but you know, maybe it's just part of the strategy game. But yeah, as usual, great qualifying session from these guys, very close, and I hope this translates into the 1-hour race that we have coming up.
James Allen is not going to make it back around to complete this qualifying lap. I think he's just going out there and trying to get some more practice through a few of these corners. Some exit Lesmos now down into Ascari. So we will step back, let everything sort out on iRacing's end, and we will walk you down your starting grid. It's going to be a good one as well. Up front, on the front row, it's Chris Brunnemer, Garrett D'Alessandro, each with 2 wins so far on the season. Arguably the 2 best drivers so far in the Northwest GT3 Challenge. Row 2, we get Gavin Cohn and John Whitendorf separated by just 1/1000th of a second. How incredible is that? You roll back to row number 3. On the inside, Trevor Anderson in the number 211. On the outside, Sarah Rabb in the number 31. Roll back to row 4, 7th and 8th position, James Allen and James Hansen, a couple of James rounding out row 4. To round out the top 10, though, it's going to be Michael Dolling and Brady Lubenow.
Starting off in P11 on row 6, we do have Mikael Ruderbusch, and right alongside him, Alan Roth. Kyle Robinson is going to start on P13, alongside him, Mick Blue in 14th spot. In 15th, we do have Sven Hardman, and right alongside him, the number 17 on Michael Bishop. On row number 9, we have Justin Michaela, and alongside him, Michael De La Sala. And on row 10 of the grid, the number 78, Jack Solari, is going to be accompanied by the number 80 of John McClintock.
In 21st starting spot, it's Christopher Raftees in that new Ferrari. Jeffrey Belk to his outside in 22nd starting spot. 23rd, Tom Athey. I believe Raftees' partner there, his teammate. So pretty consistent between those two. Jason Frisk starting from 24th, roll back to 25th. In row 13, it's Bern Osterhaug and Torin Longacre in 26th position. 27th starting spot gives us Randall Ayers, Stephen Erlenbush to his outside in 28th. 29th, Justin Craig. 30th, Josh Jaburek. To round out your field, just 2 more cars. Tyler Campbell and Joey Atterbury give us a 32-car field here at Monza. These guys still waiting to roll off of the starting grid there. That's under the bridge that actually makes up, I believe, the entry to turn 3 of the Monza Oval. Very bumpy. And so these guys are heading down to Ascari to begin their formation lap. Means we have about a half a lap to get these guys underway.
Yeah, these guys have half a lap to get the tires kind of up to the temperature to make sure they get the best grip on the restart. Obviously, to try and practice on your mind what the start of the race is going to be like. You know, just compose yourself, bring the nerves down on qualifying, and trying to get everything settled for the race start actually. And yeah, I guess everybody obviously is a very nervous. Monza actually is, I guess, one of the craziest starts of the race on iRacing calendar, so it's definitely going to be a crazy one to commentate tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this place never fails to excite on race starts. Cannot wait to see how this evening goes with all of these fantastic-looking race cars out here. Checking out some onboard cameras throughout the field, just seeing how these guys are looking as they get ready to go green flag racing course for a full hour. They don't cut any corners here in the Northwest GT3 Challenge. They go nearly endurance racing, it feels like, honestly. These races definitely do take just a little while. We'll go back up, of course, to our race leaders, the front row, as they exit Parabolica, getting ready to go green flag racing. They'll pass the pit entry. There goes the iRacing Porsche pace car down to the safety of pit lane under the final bridge before these guys get going. There's the start-finish line, I believe, for the oval, and they finally get green flag racing. The green flag flies, and they'll race down to turn number 1.
Chris Brunnemer waited until the last possible second to actually go on throttle, and that allowed Gavin Cohn to jump all the way up into second place. Chris Brunnemer dropping down to third, but already getting challenged on the outside by the Ferrari of John Winterdorf, who actually gets the position done. So terrible start for Garrett. He's still on the inside as they head into Curva Grande. but definitely not the greatest start. As you can see, we do have a few car grids. It looks like everybody made it through turn 1, so that is actually fantastic to see. But up ahead, Gavin Cohn actually making the dream of starts, and hopefully he can keep the position up.
They fight down to turn 3. You see Garrett D'Alessandro alongside John Whitendorf. Whitendorf takes that spot in the chicane, so they will get that part sorted out. Trevor Anderson and James Hansen battle behind. There was some contact in turn 1, but everybody, it looks like, getting through. I don't see anybody stopped, aside from the few that did not make the start of the race. Joey Atterbury, Tyler Campbell, Josh Burek, and Justin Craig, possibly. We'll see how that all works out for those drivers towards the back of the field. Chris Brunnemer leads down through turn 6 under the Fly Emirates banner down towards the SCAR for the first time. This is going to be interesting watching them navigate what's really a double chicane.
Yeah, exactly. It's really challenging, especially if you're behind someone, because you don't actually have the best turn-in spots or angles if you wish. But it looks like everybody made it clean. As you can see, actually, Garrett D'Alessandro made it really clean as he's forcing John Winterdorf to go defensive as they head into the Parabolica. So it looks like Garrett is going to try brave around the outside. Obviously, they have a massive gap to P2 and P1, but looks like Garrett does outbrake him. But unfortunately, it looks like his Audi cannot keep on the outside. Kenny, they're so close together. They don't make contact. John Winterdorf gives him enough room. It looks like that's enough for Garrett D'Alessandro, who actually takes the position. Is going to be pulling away. But looks like up ahead, Gavin Cohn lost contact with Chris Brunnemer, which is exactly what the leaders want. But you can see behind them a massive massive fight for third place.
Heavy on the brakes, late on the brakes goes Whitendorf. He challenges side-by-side contact between these two. It's only lap 2, guys. You got to settle in and get some laps down before you start battling like that. Whitendorf wanted third place back. Garrett D'Alessandro said, nope, I'll be taking that. And Trevor Anderson just waiting for his opportunity. He's currently in 5th position, just waiting for some way by these guys. Brunnemer breaking the draft every chance he can get. They battle now down to turn 3.
Yeah, you can see Garrett actually forced to go defensive as he does not want to give that position up. He feels like he has the pace to challenge Gavin Cohn for second and maybe Chris for first. So he definitely does not want to get stuck behind these guys. But John Winterdorf definitely wants that position as well, because you do want track position. And Trevor Anderson just watching on the back lines, just eating some popcorn and hoping to get an opportunity to pass both of these guys. But I guess that's just going to be the norm for the hour tonight, because it's just going to be everybody trying to pass everybody. But as you can see there, James Allen forcing James Hansen to go defensive as they head into Ascari, but looks like he backs off. Maybe he does just enough room, but looks like James Hansen keeps the position for now.
Sarah Rabb in this mess, really, as they head through Ascari. Single file, but here comes Hansen. He goes to the left side now sorry, that was Allen going to the left side of James Hansen. The two James getting us confused. They'll race down to Parabolica. Sarah Rabb with a big draft. Who does she help? She actually stays in behind Hansen for a moment. Rather, Allen. See, I get them confused once again through Parabolica. Allen gets the spot over Hansen, but Hansen, a prettier exit, and he's going to drive to the right side. But Allen, I think, with a little more momentum.
Looks like the BMW has a bit of the advantage on the straight line speed, but look at Sarah Rabb with the slipstream. She's going to be pointing on the inside of turn 1, inside of the outside. She actually go for the outside. She's going to be squeezed off into the grass. She has absolutely nowhere to go, so she's probably going to be braking early. Yes, she does. Looks like James Hansen is going to be looking down the inside of the BMW. He just backs off. Looks like he maybe have corner cut at turn 1, but looks like he keeps his position for now, keeps P7. And it looks like James Allen now is going to be pulling away on the BMW, as Sarah Rabb now is under pressure from Michael Darling in the BMW. We're going to see now if the BMW has a straight line speed. You can see he's just keeping up, even though Sarah has a slipstream. Is he going to be lining up a move as they head into turn 3? Looks like yes, he does. Actually, he puts his nose in there, but Sarah Rabb just closes the door, and unfortunately he has to back out of it.
That would have been incredibly optimistic for Doling to try and make that move. Oh, Sarah Rabb now getting into it with James Hansen. Hansen, a defensive line into Lesmo 1. Very surprised that Sarah was trying to pass it to Lesmo 1, actually. Even more surprised that Hansen was trying to block like that. Very, very aggressive racing here within the first 5 minutes at Monza.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like not a single person wants to give track position away. Looks like not everybody's thinking about the fuse strat. Looks like they're just thinking about track position, and that could be very important in this racetrack. But it looks like everybody's defending really hard. As we look up ahead, it looks like we do still have a few battles. Looks like John Winterdorf still pressuring Garrett D'Alessandro, is actually catching Gavin Cohn, who unfortunately lost contact with Chris. So it looks like Gavin Cohn should be coming under pressure in the next few laps, as John Winterdorf now really on the back end of the Audi. Looks like he's not lining up. As you can see there up ahead, Gavin Cohn actually making another mistake on Parabolica, losing a lot of time, and now he's going to be under pressure from Garrett as they head into the start-finish line.
A lot of the mistakes right here on that lap from Gavin Cohn. He had gone purple shortly before. Now Brunnemer takes that lap away. And Garrett D'Alessandro, you can see those Audi headlights menacingly in the mirrors of Gavin Cohn, just waiting to try and get up there and make his move. Garrett D'Alessandro might be able to use Gavin Cohn as a pick to get rid of John Whitendorf as well. Don't forget about Trevor Anderson and even James Hansen, who has now gotten clear of Michael Doling and Sarah Rabb. All these guys starting to put on some great battles so far. We're only 6 minutes in, and they are definitely getting close to leading on one another and certainly shaping up to have some great all-race-long battles.
Yeah, exactly. As you can see there, Sarah Rabb just putting on the inside on turn 3. Looks like she's going to be braving around the outside. Looks like someone is in the ring. Brady Luminow is actually going to be diving on the inside of both of them. That's not going to end well, and it doesn't. Looks like we do have a car.
Oh, and they're just piling in.
Michael Darling. And
oh,
like
no.
That's not ideal. Michael Darling unfortunately got spun around in the worst place possible, and I had absolutely nowhere
contact
to go. And unfortunately, he got tangled up in a lot of contact. Looks like he was the only one actually came in with a significant amount of damage, so that's really unfortunate for him as he was running P9. Oh, even more contact actually. Out of the exit at Lesmo 1, John McClintock. It looks like another Audi, Touring Longacre, actually had a big crash as they head into the mini straight between Lesmo 1 and 2.
Trying to keep up with all of this, we were watching the replay there, and then I guess there's more contact up ahead with McClintock, you said?
Yes, McClintock and Touring Longacre. You're going to be seeing there. Just you can see
here
that
it is. McClintock off in the grass. Oh my, or the gravel rather. Oh dear.
Looks like the Monza cars just came in a few laps too late, but luckily for them, they didn't take anyone else out. So unfortunately for both of those drivers, the Ferrari and the Audi driver, obviously looks like they came in with a significant amount of damage. The Audi actually doesn't look too bad, but the Ferrari looks a little bit bent on the front end. But as you can see there, Trevor Anderson braving around the outside of turn 1 and actually making the move stick on the inside of turn 2. He's going to be keeping that position as they head into turn 3 and into Curva Grande.
A big battle for second place right now. Garrett D'Alessandro rather looked to the inside in turn 1, decided not to make the move, so he sits behind Gavin Cohn at turn 3 now. Looks like he'll try and make a pass towards Lesmo, possibly, maybe even a Scar. He's definitely waiting right now. Whitendorf still all over the back end of the numbers. I'm used to 77, 78 there for Whiplash. The 211 of Trevor Anderson, who has made it up to 4th position, and man, everything getting shaken up. James Allen sits behind. He is in 6th place, and he's right off the back end of John Whitendorf. Justin Michaela, James Hansen, they're also in tow. Sarah Rabb and Michaela actually battling through the Lesmos. There's even Mick Blue making it into the top 10.
Exactly, Mick Blue with a fantastic start, just as Justin Michaela as he passed Sarah Rabb. He started on P17, he's already up into P9 in less than 10 minutes of racing, so he's actually doing a fantastic race. But looks like Mick Blue is now under pressure. Looks like his BMW looks like a little bit damaged on the rear end. I'm not pretty sure if that's only on my screen, but looks like he's going to be coming under pressure from Brady Lube now as he lost a few positions. He's definitely going to be eager to take those back. And obviously Sven Hartman and Alan Roth waiting on the wings, but you can see there, I'm pretty sure that's James Allen trying to line up a move on that bright red BMW on Trevor Anderson, who actually runs a bit wide, but the Ferrari of John Whitendorf is always, it's again very close, so we could be seeing a 3 wide situation as they head into turn 1.
That was very aggressive from James Allen to swerve back over to the inside for Parabolica. And now he gets over to the left side of Trevor Anderson to get into 1. Oh, those BMWs a little shaky under braking. They get it sorted out. Anderson takes that spot back by exit. Oh, but actually a bit of a wide exit there for the 211. Now Whitendorf and Allen go side by side. You can see the battling up ahead there with their... Oh my, John Whitendorf! I'm not so sure you can put a car there, and I think Trevor moved over to facilitate that. That was interesting. All right, it works out, I suppose.
John Whitedorf got the dream of exit out of the first chicane, and he almost challenged Trevor Anderson for that P4 position. So that was extremely close, and a great exit out of him. And when unfortunately he couldn't make a double move as they headed into Curva Grande. Sorry, but you know he's very confident on the wheel. That Ferrari obviously starting in P4, unfortunately in P5 right now, if I'm not mistaken. And he's definitely going to be putting the pressure on Trevor Anderson right now, who is definitely going to have to be wheeling that BMW.
These guys battling for 4th through 7th position. Justin Michaela back here in a battle with Sarah Rabb still. This is for 8th and 9th. Mick Blue still in 10th, and he's got company behind. Sven Hartman's backed off a little bit, but Brady Lubenow challenging the 93 down towards Ascari. This is just outside the top 10. Alan Roth is up here. He's in 13th spot. Mikhail Ruderbush, Kyle Robinson, they're just inside the top 15. Christopher Rafti is following these guys up in 16th. You can follow the rest of the field on the ticker on the left side of your screen. We're through now 11 minutes of 60.
It looks like Alan Roth is under pressure from Michael Ruderbush. Definitely didn't have the best of starts, but looks like he's going to be eager to get that position back. He's going to be sliding back as they head into Parabolica, actually getting it looks like a better exit than the BMW, using that extra grip that the Audi has, but that BMW just has the legs on the straight line. We're going to have to wait and see if the slipstream is going to be enough to actually help the Audi as they head into turn 1. But Kyle Robinson again setting it back, but you can see they're up ahead. A massive battle still for P4, but Trevor Anderson unfortunately gets hooked and gets turned around at the exit of the first chicane. That is extremely sad.
Trevor Anderson turned around out of turn 1. He's in the entry to Curva Grande. It's so hard to turn around at this part of the racetrack. Everybody on the accelerator trying to get going. And there he finally gets the car moved, but now he still has to get the car righted and in the right direction. And this is going to destroy Trevor's race. And he's 6th in points. Or actually, no, he's 5th in points. This is going to be incredibly detrimental to his season as a whole. We'll take a look back and see what happens to these two. This was Whitendorf and Anderson making contact in turn 1. Whitendorf on the curbs there. Anderson, oh man. It's certainly by no means intentional or malicious or anything like that. Just a little bit of racing contact, but Whitendorf simply came back over to the left just a little bit too far and got into the side of Trevor Anderson.
Yeah, it looks like he just lost a bit of the car under acceleration, and unfortunately that was enough to hook the BMW. But you can see there, Trevor actually you can see that just loses the car on the curb, I guess. Just tried to save it, but unfortunately the car came a bit too much on the left-hand side of the racetrack, and unfortunately that was enough to make contact with that BMW. Unfortunately, that split him around. He had absolutely nowhere to go, and unfortunately had to wait for a lot of cars to actually go past him until he managed, to come back on the racing circuit.
He's fallen to 27th. I mean, that is insane.
Yeah, and that just shows how costly a mistake. Yeah, unfortunately, contact, I guess, can be around Monza. You know, absolutely nowhere to go to come back on the racing circuit, and have to wait for a gap. And I guess that was just a prime example.
This is the battle for second place. Garrett D'Alessandro still trying to find a way around Gavin Cohen. I think at this point, Garrett's kind of just playing the waiting game, waiting on a mistake from Gavin and just trying to stay in the draft. I don't think he's really going to do much at this point. I think he realizes Gavin has a great piece underneath him, a great setup in that number 23 car, and the battle really is on further back. John Whitendorf has fallen into 6th spot, Justin Michaela all over the 24 car, and Michaela, of course, has that clean Audi where Whitendorf now has a lot of damage on his Ferrari. It has been told that these guys apparently, accidentally, have a fast repair to use as Michaela is going to try to make a move on Whitendorf down to turn 3.
And he gets the move done around the outside, so and just looking at turn 3, you can see just how much damage John Whitendorf has to. You know, he has a lot of damage on that Ferrari because the Audi is just catching up all the time and just managed to fly past him. And unfortunately, now he's going to be probably sticking him back on the slipstream, just trying to use that to his advantage to try and maybe defend from Sarah Rabb as well. But obviously going to be having to push a lot to be able to keep up with the brand new Audi of Justin Michaela. But just as you said, unfortunately, looks like maybe a mistake. Looks like they do have fast repairs. We're going to be seeing if the drivers are going to be using it or not. Probably not. But, you know, it's definitely something to keep an eye out for.
Back around the 10th, 11th position, Sven Hartman and Mick Blue still battling. This is to get into 9th position. Actually, these two both inside the top 10 now with the deletion of Trevor Anderson, if you will, from the top 10. So Sven Hartman in the 10th position. Mikhail Ruderbush has company from behind, although he has kind of separated himself just a tad bit from Brady Lubenow and Alan Roth. Alan Roth now puts a move on Brady Lubenow. This is down to Parabolica. Kyle Robinson in tow with these guys.
I'm not really sure what Brady was doing, but looks like just on the straight after Ascari and before, sorry, Parabolica, he was just weaving the Ferrari, I guess trying to let Alan Roth by, but I'm not really sure what he was doing. Maybe trying to get the slipstream because he was just out of range from the guys ahead. But you can see there now he's being overtaken by the Audi of Kyle Robinson. Kyle Robinson just makes the move as he slots in behind his teammate Alan Roth, and he's going to be settling. Oh, as Brady Lubin actually comes the big dive on turn 1. Is he going to be keeping that clean? Looks like Kyle Robinson sticks to his position around the outside of turn 1, but that was a very audacious launch.
Yeah, he's weaving again. I think he's trying to check for damage. He's been in a couple of little scraps so far. I think Brady's just trying to weave and see what that car can do at this point. Because, of course, you have to worry about the toe getting knocked down. You got to wonder how bad that car is going to handle the rest of the race. I think he's just trying to index the damage, try and diagnose whatever's wrong with that number 11 machine and see what he can do to try and adjust for it. But it sounds like, again, with the apparent addition of a fast repair to this race, by no means, apparently not intentional at all, but with that in the back pockets of these drivers, I think Brady Lubinow might be okay to hang on and still fight back into the top 10.
Not only that, but we might actually see some early pit stops, because if you do have damage, you might as well just pit early, get the car fueled up to the end, and just get a fast repair out of the way to get a brand new car. Obviously, you're not going to have the advantage of getting a partner to slipstream, but, you know, I guess that's just the trade-off in this race. But as you can see there, Garrett D'Alessandro, these guys, Garrett D'Alessandro, Gavin Cone, they're definitely not going to be needing a fast repair anytime soon. I'm not pretty sure if the Gavin is just playing the strategy game. You know, looks like he's not going to have enough pace to catch Chris at this point in time, so might as well just fuel save and jump Gavin on the pit stops.
Into the braking zone, you see the menacing Audi of Garrett D'Alessandro behind. All three manufacturers that have been popular choices so far this season still well represented in the top 3. A Ferrari leads, BMW second place, and an Audi on the assault for second in third spot. So I really don't know if there's any clear advantage aside from maybe the Ferrari. It seems like that's the car that has certainly been best all season. It's got 3 of 5 wins, and Garrett D'Alessandro seems to be the exception to the Audis. So a lot of people say the Audi is a little bit quicker. I don't know. I think the Ferrari is definitely the best car. It really all depends. Is the BMW of Gavin Cone a mistake out of turn 3? James Allen at 4th behind. But Garrett D'Alessandro up the inside of Lesmo 1. This is an interesting place to go side by side, but hey, the opportunities don't always come to you that easily, so Garrett D'Alessandro has to take it. Lesmo 2, and Gavin Cone gets it back.
Gavin Cone really brave on the braking in and turn in to keep it around the outside of Lesmo 2. That was incredibly brave. But coming back to your point, obviously every single car has its pros and cons. The Ferrari just seems to be the best overall GT3 at the moment. The BMW definitely has a straight line speed advantage, and the Audi obviously is just, I guess, a well-rounded car in terms of downforce and just overall mechanical grip. But you can see there, just Garrett doesn't seem to care about if the BMW has a better straight line speed. You can see just tucking in behind, but doesn't seem to be closing in at a massive rate. Is he going to be looking down the inside of Parabolica? He thinks better of it, and he's going to be sticking it back as they head into the final corner. You can see there, Gavin Cone just cannot get really close to the get really tight on mid-corner at Parabolic, and that costs him on the exit. You can see that Garrett just getting closer and closer, and we're going to be having to wait and see if Garrett is going to be lining up a move.
This race is starting to look like an old NASCAR race at Daytona or Talladega from about 2010, where they split up into tandems. As now Garrett D'Alessandro challenges into turn 1. Gavin Cone, he actually got a little too far left. He did not like that challenge into 1, I don't think. I think he just wants to chill and race and just turn laps right now with Garrett D'Alessandro, but Garrett wasting no time, finally getting by Gavin Cone. But these guys are really splitting into tandems right now, splitting into pairs around this racetrack, with the exception of Chris Brunnemer out in the lead. And this is a very important battle as well for the point standings between Gavin Cone and Garrett D'Alessandro, because Gavin Cone then would have made a point up on Garrett, but now, of course, it goes the other way. Garrett D'Alessandro making a point up on Gavin Cone.
Not only that, but Brady Lubinow has disconnected from the session, so that's gonna automatically promote Gavin Cone into second place in the standings. So that's gonna be a really good result for his championship charger. Obviously, he's gonna be dropping point, as you said, from Garrett, but you know, he's making moves into second place, and he's definitely gonna be putting in some points between him and Trevor Anderson, because obviously Trevor had that massive contact. They're dropping all the way down into 27th at that point in time. He's currently in 22nd place, so it's definitely going to be a dream result for Gavin Cone if he can keep this position.
20 minutes down, 40 minutes to go. We're getting ever closer to that pit cycle. Here's Sarah Rabb and John Whitendorf battling. And of course, John Whitendorf had that contact out of turn 1 with Trevor Anderson, but Whitendorf has stayed up in the top 10, and he keeps his race going. Now battling with the 31 car of Sarah Rabb. Sarah's had an interesting season. She's been confident going into races, but certainly not so much out of races. A lot of bad luck has gone her way as Whitendorf puts that pass on her into Parabolica. That 24 car definitely wounded, but still looking pretty decently quick. I don't think we're going to see the same pace out of him that we would have seen if that car had gone unscathed.
Yeah, you can see there Sarah Rabb, even though she lost the inside on Parabolica, she instantly just got into the slipstream. You can see there the difference between an undamaged car and a wounded car, as you said. And Sarah Rabb just instantly takes the position back. And that's going to be the norm, I guess. Looks like, sorry about that, looks like he's just going to be having to stick back, just trying to make a move if Sarah makes a mistake. But, unfortunately, he doesn't seem to have the pace to run in clean air and not lose a lot of time due to that contact that he had with the 211 of Trevor Anderson.
Yeah, if we go to these onboards, you can see a lot of damage, actually, even from the cockpit. We'll go back to this right front cam, and, I mean, you can see how damaged that right front fender is. You can see through part of it there, through part of the right front fender assembly. That is incredible how damaged this 24 is, yet he's still got pace. I'm really surprised by John Whitendorf. He's a little bit wounded, certainly in straight line pace, but it's still a decently fast car overall, so certainly surprising in that regard. Mick Blue, Mikkel Rudebusch, they're battling. Alan Roth in here as well. This is for P9. Mikkel Rudebusch is, and Mick Blue actually trying to defend P10 from Alan Roth. Kyle Robinson in behind these guys, Michael Bishop as well, even Jeffrey Bell and Jackson Lauer to round out your top 15.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like we do have a lot of battles, just as usual as we see, but looks like Alan Roth is probably going to be lining up and move on to his car. He's going to be putting the car on the inside. Is he going to be braving around on the brakes? He's not. He thinks better of it. Unfortunately, misses the initial apex for the corner, but looks like he's going to be lining up a move. No, unfortunately, he gets lost. The rear ending actually get loose for him, and he's going to be losing a bit of contact on Mick Blue. As you can see, they're flashing his headlights, I guess, in celebration that Alan unfortunately dropped back a bit. But, looks like these guys are still going to be battling. Looks like Alan Roth actually has good pace, and he's already catching up to Mick Blue once again.
Currently on board here with Michael Bishop in the 13th position. Kyle Robinson up ahead of the number 28 machine. And that's another one of those Valhalla drivers. They are rather popular out here in the field this evening. Alan Roth is one of those as well. You see him up here in the 11th position. He started 12th, up that one spot. So, I mean, Alan Roth certainly putting together a decent race this evening. And we've seen a lot of struggles for him as well, just trying to find some pace in that number 12. But it seems like he's finally broken through these last few races. That 12 has looked pretty good. And he's looking like he might be a mid-season, late-season contender to get up there and battle for top 10s, maybe even top 5s as the races go his way, especially if we keep seeing these trouble from front runners like Brady Lubenow and Trevor Anderson and more. And he could certainly still get some more spots out of this. Mick Blue is up ahead. He's in 10th and just kind of riding around right now. Started 14th, up a few spots, and just kind of chilling, to be honest. Mikkel Rudebusch up ahead in that number 22 Audi. We saw him get into a few different scrums at Brands Hatch, but since then, actually his paint is a little bit outdated there, but since then, Mikkel has looked really, really good and is starting to make a lot of moves up through the field, and hopefully the points as well. John Whitendorf still in that battle with Sarah Rabb.
Yeah, exactly. These guys, obviously the name of the game is just keep your nose clean. If you can keep your nose clean, you're going to be making a lot of position as drivers not only make mistakes, but unfortunately they do make contact with other drivers. So if you can just keep yourself on the racetrack, you're going to be on for a good result. Obviously you do have to have the pace to back it up, but 50% done is just by keeping yourself out of collisions. But saying that, obviously John Whitendorf still in the slipstream. He cannot give Sarah the advantage of just pulling away from that 1.2, 1.4 second gap that they have. But looks like John Whitendorf is actually going to be pulling into the pits. So it looks like we're going to have the first round of pit stops coming up. Now the question is he going to be taking that fast repair, or they have been briefed about not taking those? You're just going to have to wait and see as he comes into his pit stall.
I believe they've been allowed to take them if they need them. Everybody's still got the same situation, so it's just like if they didn't have them. Everybody's got the same race to deal with. We'll see what happens. Yep, Whitendorf takes it. Of course, I mean, why wouldn't you? If you've got it there, why would you not take it? Whitendorf takes his fast repair, and he pits rather early, but this might, yeah, I mean, I think this is within the pit window. Despite being so early, I think he'll be okay, just trying to get a leg up on the rest of the drivers he's racing. James Hansen in a battle with James Allen and Gavin Cohen actually up ahead. So these guys, third, fourth, and fifth, all on the line and starting to come to one another. You saw Garrett D'Alessandro make that aggressive move on Gavin Cohen to finally get by, and since then, the 23 hit it in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it looks like Gavin Cohen actually has a really fast setup and really good car, but looks like he's just a bit of maybe on the undrivable side because he seems to be making a lot of mistakes, not hitting the proper apexes and just costing himself time, you know, lap after lap. Because I was just looking 2 laps ago, he's just on the back end of Garrett D'Alessandro. Unfortunately, now he has dropped all the way a few seconds behind. And it wasn't this lap actually he dropped, but you can see they're just making a few mistakes and James Allen just closing in. But I'm not pretty sure if it's just me, but looks like the rear end of his BMW, the number 23, is a bit damaged, so that might explain a bit of the lack of pace. But you know, it looks like he's struggling at this point in time. He obviously, if he can keep his nose clean, he's going to be coming into the pits shortly, I guess in a few laps, and probably going to be taking that fast repair. But looks like right now he's struggling with that race car.
Whitendorf has sorted into the 21st spot thereabouts. We'll see how everything goes with him and cycling back into things. Oh, Sarah Rabb down the pit lane, it looks like as well. Sarah's coming in a little bit early along with John Whitendorf. So those two that were battling, I think Sarah, as a reactionary measure to John pitting that early, is going to come in along with him and see what she can't do the rest of this way. So getting her pit stop out of the way early also takes that faster, replaces that left front fender and whatever else was damaged on that number 31 machine. So Sarah gets that little reset, gets a chance to get this out of the way early and just focus on making up spots the rest of this race, making up time the rest of this race. Everybody else just kind of doing their own thing. Really, everybody's pretty spread out. We do see some cars side by side and such here in Parabolica. The number 83, Randall Ayer, is in behind John Whitendorf, actually. Look at that. And John McClintock, I believe, in tow. No, this is, oh, that's a lapped car, it looks like, possibly. We'll wait for scoring to update. I think that's either Raftis. That is Christopher Raftis, yes, right there. And Sarah Rabb comes out right with John Whitendorf. So those two, they pit 1 lap apart. Whitendorf makes the undercut, doesn't make the pass, but they now have 2 clean race cars.
Perfect strategy from Sarah to cover up that undercut that John just tried to do. He was just ever so slightly off on making that move around the outside. Maybe got a bit held up in traffic, but you know, just exceptional from Sarah to cover that up, coming in and doing a perfect defensive line as they headed into turns the first chicane. But you know, just perfect strategy from her. Keeps that position. I guess they're running P7. Yeah, she was running P7 right before the pit stops. So it looks like they may have that covered from the time being. But you know, that's just a masterclass of strategy. As you can see there, James Allen, I'm pretty sure just putting on the pressure on Gavin Cohen. It looks like that struggling BMW is going to be losing yet another position if James Allen can brave around the outside. Looks like, oh, they're going to be coming so close together. Is James going to be putting the nose on the outside? Sorry, he doesn't. But Gavin, he leaves him the room on the exit of the first chicane. But it looks like the position's still the same as James Hansen's just waiting on the wings of both of them.
Justin McCullough down the pit lane. He comes in for his service. Like also a little bit early, but much closer to halfway. This battle for third, fourth, and fifth now gaining on Raftis, Whitendorf, and Rabb that we saw a little while ago after Rabb and Whitendorf pitted. Kind of reactionary to one another. I think Whitendorf did it to try and undercut and pass Sarah Rabb. Sarah Rabb did it in reactionary measure to try and stay ahead of John Whitendorf, and they'll continue battling up ahead. These guys starting to gain on that threesome of cars heading through Lesmo 2. And this is still a very important battle as well for the points. James Hansen, James Allen, they're in some good spots as well. I think they're both tied for 9th place or so in the point standings. So, actually, no, I think Hansen's further ahead. But I know James Allen's moving his way up, and it's certainly important as well for Gavin Cohen, who's second in points.
James Hansen is in fact only 1 point ahead of Gavin Cohen in the standings right now. So obviously he has everything to gain from this, you know, just pulling up the gap from Gavin Cohen right now. So he obviously is just waiting, trying to pounce, maybe just saving fuel so he can get him on a strategy but obviously he's definitely going to be thinking about the championship, sorry, as James Allen's going to be looks like he's going to brave around the outside. No, he's just going to be trying to maybe get the switch back on Gavin Cohn. Looks like he goes to the inside, doesn't seem to get the better exit at first, but looks like now he has the ever so slightly edge and is going to be pulling into this slipstream. Looks like we do have another car on the pits, but is he going to be braver around the outside? He has to be braver on the turn-in point if he wants to keep that position. Looks like Gavin's just going to have that cover up for now, and yes, he does. Looks like James is not going to be trying any moves at this point in time, as they do have a car cutting the chicane. Yeah, that's been Osterhog. Looks like he's just struggling a bit with that Audi. Again, another damaged car.
Worth mentioning that through some pit stops and everything, soon making up some spots as well. Trevor Anderson up into P11 after his contact with John Whitendorf. Jeffrey Belk in 10th. Michael Bishop in 9th place. And oh, this is an interesting battle up ahead. This involves Kyle Robinson and Alan Roth. This is for 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Looks like the Audi of Kyle Robinson did get an average exit at the first chicane, but looks like he's definitely going to be challenged Alan Roth for the time being. I'm not pretty sure if Alan actually gained the position. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's defending up until now from Kyle and Michael Bishop. Obviously, just waiting again, probably playing the few strat at this point in time because they're getting ever so slightly closer to the edge of the pit cycle, I guess. But looks like Alan Roth is just putting a master display of just overall driving. You can see just keeping it really clean, not a single dent on that BMW, which is really important on this racetrack. And just keeping his nose clean. He's on P7 at the moment. Obviously, probably gonna drop a few places after the round of pit stop, but just a fantastic race, just like we saw in Bathurst from him.
All these guys sorting things out. Worth going back up to that battle up ahead with James Allen, James Hansen, Gavin Cohn up ahead as well. And also worth mentioning the fact that the gap from first to second, Chris Bredemer to Garrett D'Alessandro, 16 seconds. Another 4 seconds back to Gavin Cohn. So the front runner is definitely well sorted out. And Chris Bredemer, man, I don't know where he gets the speed, but this Ferrari 488 always on rails, and he might be a lock to come back up and try and get this championship, but Garrett D'Alessandro consistently finishing up front is going to make it difficult. Sorting through some Latin cars are James Hansen and James Allen.
Looks like James Hansen and James Allen, as you said, that lost a lot of time due to lapping Tom Matthew. It looks like Tom just allowed Gavin to pass him on the straight line as they head into the braking, but looks like he got into the first chicane and unfortunately didn't let them by, and that costs a lot of time to James Allen. Obviously, Gavin Cohn is thanking him at this moment in time, but James Hansen as well probably gonna be thinking about making the move on James Allen, trying to challenge Gavin Cohn on his zone at this moment in time, but definitely not ideal for the number 117 of James Allen.
Back around the 10th position now belongs to Trevor Anderson. Michael Doling has not pitted yet, but John Whitendorf is into 12th, battling with Sarah Rabb down to turn 1, and Sarah Rabb loses that spot for the moment, side by side into turn 1, and they sort things out. Whitendorf gets that spot back from Sarah Rabb. That is officially for 12th and 13th on the racetrack. Justin McKyle is behind them. He has made his pit stop. He has re-entered the racing surface. Michael Bishop, Mick Blue, Sven Hartman, Jackson Lowry, Josh Jaburek, Tom Athey has not pitted just yet, but all those other names have pitted. I believe Athey will still need to head down the pit lane one more time. Bernd Osterhag is pitted. Michael Della Salle looks like is pitted. Everybody else, actually a few more of these guys. Jason Frisk, Steven Erlenbush, Christopher Raftees, looks like they've all made their pit stops. We're still waiting on the top, 12 or so to come down.
Looks like just as you were mentioning that, I just was looking, John Winter unfortunately missed the corner completely on the second chicane, unfortunately had to cut it. As you can see there, that's James Allen coming into pits if I'm not mistaken. So John Winterdorf is definitely going to be having to give the position back to Sarah Rabb if he does not want a penalty. But James Allen now coming into the pits definitely going to be throwing Spanner into the mix, because James Allen is definitely going to be thinking about that undercut. And Gavin Cohn as well, as he's coming up to lap Michael Della Sala. So it's definitely going to be very interesting. But looks like Sarah didn't get the position back from John Winterdorf as he goes defensive as they head into Parabolica.
Racing down to turn 8, they'll go, and Weitendorf defends that position successfully. Sarah Rabb just trying to find some kind of way by. And this battle has been one of the best ones on the racetrack for the last 20 minutes or so. Ever since Weitendorf had that contact with Trevor Anderson, these two have been going at it tooth and nail, just trying to sort their little battle out. They're now going to be in 11th and 12th. Actually, no, 10th and 11th it looks like. As well, no, it does sort out. It's be 11th and 12th. As cars are pitting, they gain a few more spots. Kyle Robinson pits, John McClintock pits, and they got on by Kyle Robinson, I do believe. And let's see, trying to look in at some of the leaders. They've actually spread so far out that they're de-rendering here on our broadcast machine. Chris Brennemer still leads. Garrett D'Alessandro is still second place. He is now... Let's see, scoring is still updating. He'll go through a scoring loop, and it should update here momentarily. But he is 14 seconds, it looks like, back at Chris Brennemer. That number has actually narrowed.
Yeah, it looks like Chris actually may have got caught up in traffic on the last few laps, because the last lap definitely was not ideal in the 1 minute 50s. So definitely not ideal from him. But, you know, looks like Garrett D'Alessandro may have just been putting up some great lap times as he come into the pits, actually. So not only Gavin Cohn, as you can see there on your screen, but Garrett D'Alessandro as well into the pits. So we should be seeing Chris on the next few laps. Just, you know, obviously 15, 16 second gap is not going to be anywhere near enough on the undercut, but just getting those covered. As now we're just going to have to wait and see where James Allen comes out, if he manages to jump either one or just both of them.
So James Hansen through to P2 for now. How about Alan Roth? Looks like he stays on the racetrack for one more lap possibly. We'll wait for things to update and re-render his car. And, oh, looks like he's having some connection problems as well. Certainly the de-rendering thing is on our end, but I think the blinking after that is on his. So problems there for Alan Roth possibly. Jeffrey Belk down the pit lane as well. James Allen, Mikkel Rudebush, Trevor Anderson even down the pit lane. Michael Doling. This is the popular pit lap at this point. Everybody coming down the pit lane.
Yeah, looks like a lot of people on the pit lane, but looks like James Allen actually got closer to Gavin Cohn on the pit cycle, but unfortunately just not close enough to pass him. So unfortunately for him, he lost a lot of time on that traffic. But you know, the battle for actually now I'm pretty sure that's P10 still very much alive. John Winterdorf still keeping up ahead of Sarah Rabb, was actually now putting the pressure on him. So she's pretty much just giving it back what he gave her on the first 10. So definitely gonna have to watch. You can see they're just going defensive as they head into the second chicane. Is Sarah gonna be going down the inside? No, she doesn't. She just want to keep his mirror full at this point in time, but she's definitely just trying to see where he's struggling and where she can actually make the move stick on John Winterdorf.
This battle actually for it looks like 8th, 9th, no 7th, 8th for these two drivers, so we'll see how it works out for them. Chris Brennemer, Chris Brennemer and James Hansen down the pit lane. Brennemer, he's in his pit stall. James Hansen is driving to it. So James Hansen finally coming in for service. This will leave Alan Roth on the racetrack. Does he pit this lap or does he lead one lap? We'll see what Alan Roth does. He'll pit. He had a chance to go out there and take the race lead for a moment, but he does come into the pit lane, and he will pit with 22 minutes remaining, probably right at the edge of what that fuel tank could do anyways.
Looks like Gavin Cohn is actually coming under a lot of pressure from James Allen, who looks like he has a lot of pace now in the second part of the stint. We're going to have to wait and see if James Hansen actually is now coming out of his pit stall. He's going to be disengaging the pit limiter right now at this point in time, so we're just going to have to wait and see. Looks like Gavin Cohn and James Allen they're both going to be jumping him, as James Allen is going to be pointing the car on the inside as they head into turn 1. He's going to be braving on the brakes. He's going to get the BMW slowed down in time, and he does. Gavin Cohn is going to be trying to line up the switcheroo. Looks like he does get a better exit, but now he's going to be forced on the outside of Curva Grande. But looks like he just has a bit of momentum. Looks like he just got pushed away wide, and unfortunately looks like he's just going to have to sit back on P4 essentially at this point in time. Is he going to be braving on the inside? He is forcing. Is he going to be putting his nose in? He does. He allowed James Allen on the outside and gets the position back, but now James Allen once again just comes back with the switcheroo. He's going to be on the inside of Les Bonan, and this should be the position done and dusted for him.
No, not quite. These two are not done yet. Even if James Allen's cleared, there he goes. He ends up behind Gavin Cohn. Gavin Cohn clears him for now, but James Hansen's behind. He's going to mix this thing up, and Hansen's going to get a big run. I mixed those up. Hansen's behind in tow. Allen's going to get a big run down from turn 6 to turn 7 for Ascari and Parabolica. So, again, I keep getting the two James confused. It was Allen's we were getting confused for a while, but now James Allen still in pursuit of Gavin Cohn in P4, and that red 117 I don't think is done yet for third place.
Yeah, looks like Gavin is actually doing a masterclass of defending at this point in time. Even though in such a difficult track, he's doing an excellent job of just being aggressive on the brakes and knowing when to back off and trying to get this slipstream once again. But looks like he's doing a fantastic job. Even though he looks like he's struggling in the BMW, he can still defend a lot. But obviously, James Hansen doing an excellent job and just patience. He's just been sitting behind these guys for the past 30 minutes, and he's still just waiting. I guess he's just analyzing where they're struggling, and if he can get a double move on somewhere, because it looks like these two are not afraid to go side by side on pretty much all the racetrack.
Watching and waiting for some kind of slip up from one of these three as they keep putting moves on one another. That time Hansen drove up to the back end of Allen. It kind of looked like he maybe wanted to go around. I mean, obviously he wasn't going to make a move at that point, but showing the nose regardless. Allen stayed in behind Gavin Cohn, but I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a move down into turn 3, maybe gets a run out of turn 3 actually, goes into the Lesmos and tries to challenge. Really, I think his best shot is to try and clear him out of Lesmo 2, get a run down to Ascari and try and pass Gavin Cohn. I mean, that's where I would try and make it, and then it's also a heads-up race down to Parabolica to complete the lap. Into Lesmo 1. James Allen still right in behind. Oh, it's actually a bit of a bad corner there from James Hansen. Going to separate these guys just a bit. And James Allen, does he get a run out of Lesmo 2? He tried, but he's right in the toe. He actually matched, I think, Gavin Cohn's pace. We'll see how it works out down to Ascari.
Looks like he got a good exit, good enough to try and maybe put the car on the inside. Is Gavin Cohn going to be going defensive? No, but looks like James Allen just backs off at this point in time. He's just putting pressure lap after lap, and Gavin is just soaking that up beautifully. But obviously, James Allen, if he can get a move on Gavin and trying to get James Hansen to also make a move, that's going to be ideal because he's going to be pulling out a great gap. But looks like James Allen's going to be putting the car on the inside as they head into Parabolica. Gavin's not going to be giving any room. Is he going to be holding around the outside? Looks like he is. And is he going to get a good enough run on the outside? He's going to be getting the momentum, as I ran out of words there. But looks like they're both running side by side onto the main straight. Looks like Gavin got the better exit. Looks like he has the advantage over the straight line speed, and he's gonna just squeezing a bit of James Allen into the inside to try to force him. But look, you can see there just backing off under braking. Did James Allen overshoot? Looks like he didn't. And Gavin Cohn once again just trying to get a switcher. Looks like once again he got a better exit, but not close enough at this point in time.
Like I said, this battle not over. Allen makes the pass on Gavin Cohn, and they race through Curva Grande. Meanwhile, there's still that battle for 6th and 7th. They've actually gained a spot now, Weitendorf and Rab have. And looks like Justin McKayla is too far back to really say too much about it, although he does gain a little bit that time through turn 1 in Curva Grande. Back up to the battle for 3rd, and James Hansen is still just kind of waiting for his opportunity. I think the one car is a bit faster, but he's just waiting for something to go right.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like that cautious drive from James that we've seen all season long is just coming back. Just waiting and waiting, not putting yourself at too much of a risk, trying to get a DNF, but just staying in there. Just getting the pieces and bits of what's left. But looks like James Allen, got the position done on Gavin Cohn. So looks like now it should be the time to James Hansen to try and get close enough, trying to make a move and maybe challenge James Allen towards this final 17 minutes of race.
We're getting close to the back quarter, the fourth quarter, if you will, if you want to make a football reference, and we often try to in these 60-minute races, it just works out. The three cars battling for 3rd, 4th, and 5th continue down to Parabolica. Meanwhile, Sarah Rabb has fallen just a little bit back of John Weitendorf. These guys actually are not too far back of that battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Justin McKayla a little ways ahead of Mikkel Rudebusch as well. They've got a lap car in between. That's one of the FTR esports machines as well. I think that's Jackson Lowry right there. No. I wonder who that is that's mixed in with those leaders. Very interesting that we have an FTR esports driver that far back in the field right now, but that is definitely Yeah, it's an FTR car. You know what? It's Mikel Rudebusch. That threw me off. No, okay. I was mistaken there. So I'm used to the yellow back end on the Audi, on the diffuser rather, always being an FTR car, and I didn't think that Mikel would have one, but that was Mikel's diffuser there on the back end of his car. So that just threw me off entirely. I thought there was an FTR car that was that far back, and that definitely seemed odd. Alan Roth, the fan favorite, he's currently in the top 10. How about that for Alan? He needs some runs like this to close out the season. Nick Blue has fallen into 11th position out of the top 10 that it looked like he so solidly had. Michael Bishop in 12th, Jeffrey Belk in 13th, Sven Hartman 14th, Kyle Robinson back here in 15th. None of these guys really battling. They're all quite spread out until you get back to Randall Ayers and Josh Daburek.
Obviously, Trevor Anderson as well, making some great great moves. He's already up into P16 right now. He has great pace. I was just looking at his lap times. He's catching up to pretty much everybody ahead of him. So, definitely a driver to look out for on the back end of this race. Last lap, he was nearly half a second quicker than Kyle Robinson ahead of him. And Kyle Robinson is obviously on the slipstream of Sven Hartman. So if he can catch up to both of these guys, he may be looking at a double move from Trevor, which is definitely not the ideal race for him. Obviously starting on the top 5 and unfortunately got tangled up in an instant, but definitely doing a fantastic recovery race.
Back up to those battles we were focusing on so heavily earlier. Sarah Rabb has fallen back to John Whitendorf. Seems like the 31 car starting to fall off just a little bit. And suddenly the 24 looking pretty good. Looks like that fast repair is certainly paying off for John. In the battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, even separate a little bit because 5th has fallen off. James Hansen, I thought he was faster. No, he has fallen quite a ways back of Gavin Cohen as he still pursues the number 117 and really just pressures, continuing to pressure James Allen to make a mistake, just like Garrett D'Alessandro did to Gavin Cohen. Finally, it worked out for Garrett, and now Gavin going to try and make the move into turn 3.
Looks like he's going to be going down the inside. He's going to be braving on the brakes. Is he going to get the car slowed down? He does, and unfortunately, looks like a challenge for the brakes does not help both of these guys out. Obviously, now Gavin's going to have to be slowing down the car to give away that penalty that iRacing gets him. It's definitely going to be a harsher penalty than what actually he gained, but that's just the reality of the sim, and he's definitely going to be now losing probably both positions as James Hansen now all the way very, very close actually to James Allen. As you can see there now, Gavin Cohen just having to give away that time, just pretty much half throttling the car as they head into the straight, the back straight, sorry, and looks like he's just going to be sliding right back into James Allen. James Hansen probably not getting the optimal, not getting close enough actually to try and get the move as well on Gavin Cohen.
This is still the most enthralling battle on the racetrack. We'll check back in with race leader, though, Chris Brunnemer. He's clear of Garrett D'Alessandro by 18 seconds and gaining. This 2-car just has insane pace, and he's had insane pace much of the season, just hasn't been able to close races out. Arguably, Brands Hatch maybe should have been his race to win, and he just got caught up in that battle with Garrett D'Alessandro. Garrett made that amazing move into turn 2 at Brands Hatch and was able to secure that race win. I'm not so sure Chris liked it, but hey, such is racing, and sometimes you'll have that little bit of contact, those last-ditch moves. That's how it goes. Garrett D'Alessandro sitting back here in second place, though, not losing many points. I mean, if he just keeps finishing second place, consistency will reign. That said, he's actually a lot closer to this battle for 3rd than I thought, and if any of these guys starts to set up a monster run in these last 12 minutes, maybe, just maybe, if Garrett gets held up in some lap traffic, we could have a battle for 2nd place.
Yeah, exactly. We can see. I'm just looking at the lap times, and they're pretty much running the same lap times. But James Allen and Gavin Cohen actually made mistakes on the previous lap, and James Hansen was over a second quicker than Garrett on that previous lap. So just as you said, if they can keep the nose clean and just work as a team, I guess they can catch up to Garrett on this final 12 minutes. It's going to be a really hard test because obviously you do want to be staying ahead and defending that position for your life, essentially, as is a podium. But if they can keep working together, they only have a 7-second gap. That's definitely possible to catch up. Extremely difficult, but possible.
Issues for Sarah Rabb, turned around on the racetrack, a lot of damage. Oh, almost backs up into Jason Frisk. Sarah's just trying to get that car turned around. Oh, that's Alan Roth coming up to pass her as well. Can Alan get it done? This is out of Lesmo 2. We'll get a replay up on your screen of what happens to Sarah here in a moment. We'll first see if Alan can make this pass into turn number 7, also known, of course, as a scurry. Kind of a double chicane. It's a really, really cool corner. And Alan, I think, definitely going to try and make the move. Not quite. We'll go ahead. We'll see what happens here to Sarah Rabb. This is certainly not good for her race, obviously. You never want to be crashed and missing the front end of your car. She was still battling with Weitendorf. She actually caught back up to him. That's actually rather impressive because she has fallen quite a bit back of that number 24 car, and they fight off into the Lesmos. I wonder if it's a mistake on her own. And yeah, it just catches the gravel. Oh, and that's so heartbreaking. She was having such a great run challenging Weitendorf for that spot. To make that little mistake is truly heartbreaking for her and the number 31 team. Alan Roth still in tow, and this battle is not done.
Yeah, definitely not done. You can see just how much she's struggling with straight line speed. She's definitely going to be going defensive. Alan Roth is going to be putting the car on the outside. He's going to be brave enough on the brakes. He looks like they both brake at the same point. Sarah obviously taking a lot less speed, but Alan just, just wanting to hang back, just keeping his nose clean. He's definitely going to be getting that move if he can keep up with her on corners, but, that's just disaster for her. That's essentially what Lewis Hamilton did a lot of years back. I'm pretty sure it was in 2011, 2010 on the final lap of the race. So that's really unfortunate, just digging the wheel onto the gravel, and that was enough to spin that Ferrari. But she's definitely struggling right now. Obviously no point in pitting, so she just has to drag that Ferrari out, and obviously Alan just cannot get stuck behind her. He has to make the move because Mick Blue and Michael Bishop actually just kissed a little bit on the racetrack, and they're really close. So Alan has to make the move if he wants to keep the position, because both of them are actually going to be catching up a lot.
There's a battle back here for the 14th spot. Sven Hartman, we're looking at him trying to catch up to Kyle Robinson, one of the Valhalla SimSport drivers. Ahead is Jeffrey Bell, kind of in his own little bubble. Then you get up to that battle with Michael Bishop and Mick Blue. Michael Bishop trying to put a pass on Mick Blue, has been for the last little while, and wants that 11th position from the number 76. Now battling through Ascari, they'll go nose to tail. And honestly, all it's going to take is one good braking zone for Michael Bishop, and suddenly he is alongside of and trying to pass that number 76 car. Alan Roth still on the back end of Sarah Rabb. Despite nosing that car into the barrier, the 31 still looking rather stout and hanging on to her spot just behind Mikkel Rudebusch as well, who is side by side with John Weitendorf.
Looks like now John is having to defend. Looks like Mikkel is going to be putting the car on the outside. Is he going to be brave? Looks like John was actually extremely brave on the braking. Mikkel is just going to be backing off of that at this point in time and just hanging it back, trying to set up the move on the next lap up. You can see there John just holding back the P7, and Mikkel just came in on a charge, I guess, because all of a sudden he was just behind him and trying to make a move. So extremely good pace for Mikkel at this point in time in the race. Maybe the tires, maybe the car, just keeping itself alive and definitely challenging for that P7.
Mikkel looking pretty good, and that's the run he needed. Out of turn number 3, out of that second chicane, down to Lesmo 1, he'll go. Puts the move on John Weitendorf. Can John cross him back up? They'll fight into Lesmo 2, still side by side. The roles reversed. Mikkel around the outside, going to have to try and challenge down to Ascari. They both run off a little bit. Weitendorf on entry, and Mikkel Rudebusch on exit. They'll still fight now. He goes and gets in behind Rudebusch to try and get a draft down to turn 7, also known as a double chicane. Ascari, they're weaving back and forth, trying to figure out what another's going to do. Weitendorf down to the inside into Ascari. 7.5 minutes to go, and they know it. They're battling tooth and nail for every spot they can get. Weitendorf, though, going to have to let Rudebusch go for now.
Yeah, that was an extremely brave move from Rudebusch to actually hold it around the outside on the entry of the Ascari chicane, and definitely paid off, because now he has a big gap as they head into Parabolica. John Weitendorf has a bit of damage on that Ferrari on the left front quarter panel, so definitely going to be hurting on straight line speed, and that's exactly what Mikkel needed. Just a bit of damage to trying to fend off that Ferrari and try and pull out a gap.
This battle just is not letting up, though. Weitendorf stays within the toe of Rudebusch and can certainly still try and make a pass. And Mikhail's not out of this yet either. Mikhail up ahead in that FTR Esports machine cannot make a mistake, or suddenly these two are on him. And with how aggressively they're battling, he cannot let that suddenly become a problem for him. James Allen, Gavin Cohn, James Hansen still battling as they head down to Lesmo 1.
You see there, Gavin Cohn's still on the back end of the bright red BMW of James Allen. You can see they're probably just trying to line up a move, maybe waiting for the final few minutes and the final few laps to try to make a move and just defend for all his might, because right now he seems to have the pace to match James Hansen, unfortunately dropping back a little bit, not keeping up with those BMWs. But Gavin Cohn definitely getting very, very close as they head into his car. You can see they're just throwing the car into the left-hand side of the track. You can see they're just losing a bit of grip, trying to get the car hooked up on the right-hand side before throwing it again towards the left. And you can see they're just, James Allen gets a better run, and Gavin Cohn is just going to have to wait and probably get a better run out of Parabolic if he wants any chance of getting the position done into turn 1.
They'll continue fighting around Parabolica, and it's looking pretty good for James Allen right now because he's been able to just kind of keep a gap to Gavin Cohn. Gavin's certainly been on the assault, but a little bit of damage on that 23 car, I think, holding him back just a bit. And James Hansen, don't count him out of this one just yet. Anything can still happen with that number 1 machine. Chris Brennemer stays up ahead in the race lead, out by 19 seconds. Garrett D'Alessandro in second. I don't think that's going to change at all between those two drivers. James Allen still sitting at about 6.5 seconds back of Garrett D'Alessandro. And, man, I wouldn't be surprised if some lap traffic narrows that gap just enough. I mean, time's running out. It's close, man. If something happens to Garrett, he could be in trouble.
Exactly. He only has Torian Longacre, it looks like, in front of him with a decent gap. So if you can get him at the right part of the racetrack, he's definitely not going to be held up a lot. Obviously, to lose 6 seconds due to traffic is going to be a major disaster. But, you know, it's definitely possible, and he could be very unlucky at that point in time. But you can see there James Allen still just holding back the podium position. I'm not pretty sure if that's if he manages to finish in third, it's going to be his first podium finish, sorry. But he's definitely on a great place to do it. It definitely showed me a great pace, and, you know, he just deserved it. He's starting on P7 and already made his way into the podium.
I want to update you on the Weitendorf and Rudebusch battle. They are just kind of chilling right now. They're doing their own thing back here, actually separated by a second. I think Rudebusch certainly wants to get back up to Weitendorf, but the 24 looking pretty good now that he got back behind the 22 car, and I'm just not so sure what Mikel has for him. Down the straightaway, though, the damaged 24 giving up some pace, and the pristine number 22, that Audi R8, gaining some time into Ascari. I'm just not so sure he's going to have enough time to set him up and get the pass done right. Michael Bishop still trying to gain on Mick Bloom and make a pass happen there, but time is running out for these guys. They've got to make their move, and they've got to make it quick so they can have a chance to defend instead of it being, make a pass and then suddenly it's just crossed back over, and that's that. You end up losing the pass even though you made it first. So you've got to make this move soon if you're any of these guys trying to go for position, especially Gavin Cohn.
Exactly, and just Michael Bishop, if he can get a move on Mick Blue soon enough, he may be able to challenge Alan Roth to that podium position, top 10 position. But battling obviously for the podium is Gavin Cohn and James Allen. Obviously, Gavin just doesn't seem to be getting the right exit at the perfect place on the racetrack, but he definitely should be lining up as they head into the Bern Osterhag lapped car. Obviously, a very damaged Audi that could be playing a major factor into this podium battling position. So obviously Gavin Cohn should be keeping an eye out for that and hopefully trying to make the best out of that situation.
Time is running out, and the gap now down to 5.5 seconds between Garrett D'Alessandro and James Allen. He's got to be careful because, again, if he has any kind of mistake, or if he gets caught up in somebody else's trouble is trying to lap them, it could really change the dynamic of this race and the point standing in general. Looks like he gets by Torin Longacre it was in that Ferrari that he's now passed, but still he's got to be super careful because in the background those cars are gaining. James Allen going to have to contend with the lapped car of, I will find who that is, Bern Osterhag up ahead, and then he has to get up to Torin Longacre. So as well, James Allen has these lapped cars to draft off of and make some time up.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see there just Byrne just got out of the way of James Allen, got out of the way of Gavin Cohn, so definitely didn't damage them all. But looks like James Hansen just unfortunately has dropped a lot in pace at this moment in time. Maybe not the best setup, but now time is actually running out. They only have 1 minute and 46, so probably this is going to be the second to last lap of this racetrack. So Gavin, if he wants to get that podium position, once again, the second podium in a row would be for him. He definitely has to be braver under braking, braver under acceleration, and braver on turning, trying to risk it all for that podium position.
Now under a minute and a half to go, less than 90 seconds until time runs out. I'm sure iRacing will add a lap here. Mikel Rudebusch gains back up to John Whitendorf. This could be a pass into turn one. We'll see that the 22 car sits back for now, but he might try and get a run through Curva Grande and make a move into turn three, and we will stay along for that possibility. Alan Roth actually is being caught by Mick Blue. After this battle sorts itself out, we'll check in on the number 12 car because Mick Blue might have something for him. Only a half second apart as Mikel Rudebusch maybe, I don't think he's going to have anything here for John Whitendorf into turn three, into the second chicane. They will stay nose to tail separated by a few car lengths. So Mick Blue suddenly has something here for the number 12.
Yeah, he's been slow in catching up Alan Roth lap after lap, and it looks like at this point in time Alan is just feeling the pressure a little bit and maybe has dropped a little bit in pace, but obviously Mick only is going to have, what, 2 laps to try to make this move done. He's definitely going to have to pick up the pace if he wants to do it, and he's obviously going to have to be really, really brave on the brake. You can see there Alan Roth just getting a little bit loose on the exit of last one, and just keep giving away time to make Blue, just getting him ever so slightly closer to that top 10 position. But just with 1 lap to go, he has to make this move soon if he wants any chance of that top 10.
We have been shown the white flag. All these drivers getting the 1 to go signal. There it is, the white flag lights atop our scoring pylon on your screens. So this is it for all of these drivers. They've got to defend or make their pass now, or they will run out of time. This is back to the battle with Mick Blue and Alan Roth. Blue trying to find something here on Alan. I'm really surprised that Alan couldn't get by Sarah Rabb after her issues in the Lesmos. They'll battle through Parabolica. These drivers will take 1 lap to go under the bridges down the front straight for the penultimate time, the next to final time. These drivers will go down to turn 1. Garrett D'Alessandro, there's just nothing he can do. He's so far back at Chris Brunnemer, obviously, 27 seconds. The 2 car has just been so good all season long, and this is exactly what Chris has needed. A breakout run like this to really put it to the field. He had it at Interlagos. He had a similar run 2 weeks ago at Bathurst, so he's had exactly what he's needed 3 times over.
Yeah, exactly. After a terrible start, at Barcelona, we remember he qualified up there and unfortunately lost a lot of positions in the first few laps and then caught up in another incident. Just bouncing back, just better than ever. I'm pretty sure it's going to be his 3rd win in a row. But anyway, 3rd win of the season for him, and he's definitely doing it in a dominant fashion, over 21 seconds ahead of 2nd place. Chris Brunnemer wins this race around Monza. Fantastic performance by the Ferrari driver.
We flash back to some of these battles. Garrett D'Alessandro heading into Parabolica now. He's in behind Randall Ayers. Oh, and this gap is narrowed, but not enough. I think it's 3 seconds now from Garrett D'Alessandro to James Allen. James Allen will exit Parabolica to join Chris Brunnemer and Garrett D'Alessandro on the podium. He will take 3rd position. Ekes out a gap over Gavin Cohn for 4th. James Hansen in 5th. Justin Michaela in 6th place. John Whitendorf in 7th. He's got a gap back to Mikel Rudebusch that looks to be enough to hang on to that spot. Sarah Rabb, she's going to take 9th spot as long as she doesn't have something go wrong at Parabolica. And it's this battle now with Mick Blue and Alan Roth. Mick has made a pass on Alan, and they will fight down to Parabolica, side by side into the braking zone for the final time this evening for each of them. Can Alan do something? He gives him a shot in the shorts. He's going to try and cut down to the inside. It's not going to be enough for Alan Roth. Alan Roth is going to come up just short of that 10th position. He will finish 11th. The heartbreak for Alan Roth. The miracle doesn't quite go right for him. Certainly a great run, but just not what Alan or his fans out there wanted. We were keeping up on that battle, don't you worry. Jeffrey Belk in a battle with Jackson Lowry. Nothing's going to happen there. Trevor Anderson recovers to 14th. But when it's all said and done, man, you cannot beat Chris Brunnemer, apparently.
Exactly. Just, pretty much he led from start to finish. He actually led every single lap of this racetrack. He just pulled the Grand Chelem, I'm pretty sure, if he got the fastest lap of the race. You know, just the perfect run, the dream of any race car driver, and he just did it around the most unlikely place to lead every single lap, to get away from pretty much every single instant. He just did it around Monza, so I guess that just shows the quality of a driver that he is.
This number 2 has just been so good all season long. You could argue that he should have 5 wins on the season. The only race that I can think where he really just hasn't been the talk of the town was Okayama. Even at Barcelona, he made headlines. Even with his incidents, he made headlines, and he was quick. He just couldn't quite eke out that race win until we finally went to Interlagos, and he got that win. He, again, Brands Hatch was a heartbreaker for him. It was that great battle with Garrett that worked that out for that final position, I suppose, for Garrett D'Alessandro to get up over Chris Brunnemer. And that was the last time that we've really seen Garrett D'Alessandro really give it to this field. I mean, since then, it's been all this number 2 car, with the exception of Okayama, where Brady Lubenow eked out that one. So suddenly this number 2 car, certainly in mid-season form, we'll see how it works out. He's got a big gap to make up, but making inroads on it here, he's got to catch a week where Garrett D'Alessandro has some kind of problem.
Yeah, exactly. If he can keep this form until the rest of the season, he's definitely going to be making some major inroads on the championship. But obviously, may not be enough if Garrett just keeps his run of just second place, because Garrett is also a fantastic driver. He's just clean. Unfortunately, he just doesn't seem to have the pace of this track to match Chris. But you know, if he can keep doing his job and just finishing second place, he's definitely going to be securing that championship victory.
We will, of course, step aside. We'll give you a message from our Pit Stop TV partners, Tucson Sound Art and Permanent Makeup in Cryo and Maine. We'll be right back with post-race coverage and post-race interviews of all three of our podium drivers. It's been a long night, ladies and gentlemen, but we are going to wrap it all up here with top 3 interviews just on the other side of this quick break.
Because I'm just
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
We welcome you all back to Pit Stop TV with now continuing coverage from Monza. What a race we just saw. It fits right in there with every other race we've seen this season, JP. Incredible stuff here from the Northwest GT3 Challenge. We'll just get right into it with post-race interviews. We'll begin, of course, with our race winner, Chris Brunnemer. And Chris, it has certainly been a season to remember for you. Maybe those first couple of races, not so much, but ever since then, you have turned up the wick and you've been dominating these last 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Good combination of tracks, and I guess crossed my T's, dotted my I's during the race. Had everything go my way.
Everything's gone right these last few weeks. It seems like, even though Barcelona and Brands Hatch didn't quite go your way, what has been the secret for you ever since Interlagos? You've just dominated these things and taken home, I think, every single lap led in the last 3 races or thereabouts.
I think it's more about what I did wrong in the first 3 races than what I've done right the last 3. The first 3 races, I just beat myself in Barcelona. I finished second in Brands, got in a tangle up with someone at Okayama, and then just 3 races in a row winning after that. Just not beating myself, working on qualifying and practice so I start up front and stay out of trouble.
Well, it all works out one more race. And I like the way you put that. It's not so much what you've been doing those last 3 weeks, but what you did wrong the first 3 weeks. Is there anything, I guess, that stands out to you then in those first 3 races, in each 3 races to start the season off, that it was the, I guess, one defining reason you lost each of those races?
Yeah, Barcelona was just me trying too hard. I thought there was a bigger gap to Garrett because he put on a burner pole lap. So I figured on that first lap that, this is my chance. I got to get in front. And I just, tossed away, a good chance at second. Then at Okayama, Garrett and I just got together. I think he kind of used me up, but it was kind of a racing incident, and that race, was a bad luck race.
In the end, I think the season's working out for you pretty well. Looking forward to the next 4 races now, because we just had our 6th of 10. 4 to go. You've got a big hill ahead, but I think with any one big issue for Garrett D'Alessandro, you're suddenly back into this championship fight. What's your game plan for these next few races?
Win, qualify first, lead the most laps, get the fastest lap, get the max points you can every race.
It's a pretty solid game plan. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out this evening for your win at Monza?
Everyone at PSM has been helping each other out this week. We had discussed a few things that worked in qualifying, so they've been a big help this week.
Once more, congratulations to you, Chris. An amazing win here at Monza. Now 3 in a row for Chris Brunnemer. He'll go into, I believe, Silverstone next week to look to do the same.
Thanks.
Moved him at the wrong time there, but that's Chris Brunnemer winning here at Monza. JP, I'm going to turn it over to you with 3rd place finisher Jimmy Allen.
So, James, well done on P3. I guess this is your first podium, so it's going to be for the first time we're talking. But, fantastic race, fantastic battle that you had with Gavin Cohn. So just talk us through the first bit of qualifying and the first stint before we get into that battle.
Oh yeah, the qualifying was rough for everybody. It looked like everybody had some slower than normal lap time, so I was kind of worried that the race was going to carry through that way too. But I ended up just getting top 10 and kept it clean almost the whole race, so good for me, I guess.
Yeah, obviously great. Obviously started P7 and ended up finishing P3. So just talk us through the battle with Gavin Cohn. Obviously, he started in 3rd, he got up into 2nd, but started to lose time, and then eventually you just caught up to him and was just involved in this pretty much this long race battle. How difficult was it to actually get the move stick on Gavin?
Yeah, he got into D'Alessandro, I think, there, and we ended up catching him, James and I. And I just tried to keep my line and keep it clean and just kind of be really aware where he's at. And I know James is probably behind us, loving every minute of it because he could stay right there with us. But I just wanted to keep it clean with him, and he got a little cut, so he let me back by serving his penalty, and it was kind of done from there. I just kept running my line and dropped him off.
And obviously, you tried an undercut, I'm pretty sure, on the pit stops. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, but you got closer. So if you didn't lose time with that lapped car heading to the first chicane, do you think you could have gotten away and maybe just created that gap, that big enough gap to not allow Gavin to get in the slipstream and probably challenge you back again?
Yeah, I think I kept my lap times pretty consistent, so I think I might have decided to pull away a little bit from there, but it wasn't too big a deal. I just wanted to undercut because we were running into traffic there before, so I was like, I'll give it a shot. If it doesn't work, I'll hopefully just come out with him, and that's how it ended up.
And obviously, at the end of the day, it worked out because you managed to pull out a great move on him and just managed to keep yourself in P3. Obviously, he was just, obviously, he did tried some moves on the first chicane, on the second chicane. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. But how are you going to prepare for next week's race around Silverstone? Because it's obviously going to be a very, very different circuit from this one.
Hopefully lots of practice. I don't even own the track yet, I don't think. So I own the old classic Silverstone, but I don't own the new one. So it's just going to spend all week doing laps there like I did this week.
Well, if you did a lot of laps this week and it paid out for a podium, maybe next week could be the same. Obviously, very different track, but the same driver. And hopefully we can talk to you again next week. Thank you. Do you have anyone to thank, actually, just real quick?
Just thank all the people that practice with me, Brady and the Seattle iRacing guys, a bunch of good guys, so it's fun hanging out with them in Discord when we race.
Well, that's gonna be it for me. Thank you for your time. Congratulations on the podium, and I guess I'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys, appreciate it. Thanks for the race.
And I'm gonna pass it through Andrew because unfortunately we're not gonna be able to interview Garrett, but we do have a very, very special guest that Andrew cannot wait to interview. I'm gonna let you introduce him.
That's right. Now, this driver certainly had an interesting evening. He certainly had a pretty decent race. It just doesn't work out for him in the end, but we're going to talk to him anyways. He's certainly a fan favorite. And Alan Roth, you had an epic battle there with several drivers. You almost had a chance to get by Sarah Rabb, and then you get overtaken by McBlue. Work us through your entire race.
Well, I think most of the race was, except for, for Monza, is to try and stay clean because there's so many places you can go off and get wrecked, especially with the heat. I ran VRS for the entire week and it was 28, 29, and then we get onto the surface here and it's 33, so the car is like gum on all the corners, right? Especially Ascari. Ascari was pretty scary tonight, if you ask me.
Hey, Halloween was a couple of days ago, but certainly I think we were treated, not tricked, to a pretty good race overall, but you were always kind of mired back in those midfield battles. And then what happened there in the Lesmos where you come around Lesmo 1 and suddenly there's a car stopped in front of you trying to get going?
Yeah, I kind of caught the tail end of Sarah. I got the yellow flag and she was doing the Austin Powers trick in the tunnel. And then she got in front of me and yeah, she didn't get out of the way and I had to slow down a little bit. And I had a 4-second lead on Mick. And it got down to 1.5 after that whole fiasco.
And so if there was any one thing you could have done differently to try and get this top 10, does it come down to just trying to push and get by right there on Lesmo 2?
Yeah, but it's a tricky spot to push on Lesmo 2 with the heat and the tires kind of half dead at the end of the race. I wanted to be a gentleman and just try and let her get ahead of me a little bit. And I have myself to blame. My last few laps were not great. I overcooked into T1 and let Mick in a little too close, and he got me.
We're actually watching that deep entry right now, slow-mo on the broadcast. It certainly was not a great corner entry, but hey, it's certainly been a good few weeks here riding your season and trying to work your way up the point standings. We've got a lot of races to go, though, a whole lot of racing. In fact, 4 hours still of racing to go. We start that 4 hours next week at Silverstone, then Sonoma, Nürburgring, and Zolder. How do you feel about the races ahead?
I feel good. I feel like I'm getting consistent. I'm putting the time in to practice. And I know Monza was one of my favorite tracks, but I'm feeling good in the BMW, and consistency is key. If you're consistent, you can wait out some of the field they're going to wreck in front of you, and if you keep your nose clean, you'd be surprised where you finish.
Well, Alan, we'll have to wait and see where you finish. You've been climbing up those standings. Hopefully, you climb a little bit more, both for your own sake, for the points, but also everybody's sake that you're racing. Because I think Mick Blue is having to be escorted out of the facility this evening. There are riots happening in the YouTube chat. But of course, Alan, thank you for your time. Congratulations on a pretty darn good run, almost that top 10 you wanted. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out this evening?
Well, I gotta thank my teammates, Michael, Kyle, and Josh. You know, Kyle was behind me most of the race. He was content to be behind me because he couldn't catch me on the straights because the BMW is so strong. And it was nice to have somebody back there you could trust that wasn't going to rear end you. And Michael kind of led the charge, and we all kind of worked together to get the job done today, and it was a lot of fun.
Certainly a pretty good fun time watching you try and get through some of those battles. Hopefully they go your way next week at Silverstone. We'll see you out there in your number 12. Until then, have a good one and best of luck to you.
Thanks, guys. Good job as usual, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate your time there, Alan. And unfortunately, finishes 11th place. Certainly not quite the run he wanted, but still a pretty solid run, and showing that that 12 car and the Valhalla SimSport entry in general just has speed. So starting to head in the right direction, I would say, for Alan Roth.
Yeah, definitely been a turnaround in the last few rounds for him. He has a great pace. He seems to be consistent, but unfortunately, as he said, you know, the incident with Sarah Rabb unfortunately cost him that top 10 position. But you know, if he can keep this up, he's definitely going to be getting a few more before the season wraps, I guess.
Absolutely. Speaking of, before we wrap things up, before we wrap up the season, wrap up this broadcast, kind of a segue, let's go ahead and roll down our race results. And of course, Chris Brennemer, a 23-second margin of victory. That is insane that he did it all on his own without big incidents either. For Garrett D'Alessandro, simply raw pace for the number 2 car. Garrett D'Alessandro does finish second. James Allen, we talked to him in third. Gavin Cohn fourth. James Hansen rounds out your top 5. Roll back to Justin Mikhailov, 47 seconds out of the race win. John Weitendorf in 7th. Mikkel Rudebusch in 8th. They had a great battle there for a little while. Sarah Rabb, Mick Blue round out your top 10.
Finish up in P11 as we see Alan Roth, as we just talked to him. Michael Bishop is going to finish up P12. Kyle Robinson in 13th place. The 211 of Trevor Anderson after making an excellent comeback race. At one point he was 27th place, obviously making 13 spots, finishing 14th. Jackson Lowry finishing 15th. The 77 of Jeffrey Belk in 16th place. Michael Dolly in 17th. Sven Hardman, the last guy to not go under a lap down, is going to finish in 18th place. Josh Jaburek, the first guy to go a lap down, is going to finish 19th, and Randall Ayers is going to finish up in P20.
If we go back to 21st, we find John McClintock in the number 80 Audi. He had problems there in the Lesmos early. Torin Longacre recovers to 22nd. Bern Osterhag in 23rd. Tom Athey, 24th. Jason Frisk in 25th. Michael Della Sala, the second of the 2 Whiplash Racing entries, in 26th place. The final car, it looks like, running this evening. Stephen Erlenbush, 15 laps down, 27th. Christopher Rafty, 16 laps down, 28th. Brady Lubenow, after disconnecting early, 25 laps down to 29th. Justin Craig, 26 laps down in 30th. And the last 2 cars in the field, Tyler Campbell, Joey Atterbury, looks like they never make it to the grid. So 30 cars officially raced, and it was certainly an exciting evening of racing here at Monza. A great evening of racing. I'm very impressed.
Exactly, just this league against just showing its colors. You know, every single race has been brilliant. Every single race full of overtakes, full of battles, and once again, you know, even on a track like Monza, I know very little incidents in. You know, if you account for just contact, just 2 major incidents I guess we had with Trevor Anderson in one of the first few laps. Unfortunately, I cannot remember the name. Brady Lubenow, I guess it was. But you know, just 2 major incidents on the racetrack like this is fantastic, and obviously people just keeping it clean, going for moves, and it's just fantastic. It just makes racing just all so much better, and that's why we love to watch it.
And we, of course, want to give one more thank you to all of our series partners here for the Northwest GT3 Challenge, leading off with 425 Motorsports. That has selected products that dominate the industry and provide the most diverse selection of equipment and apparel to their clients. 425 Motorsports offers an in-house project management division and are a full shop that specializes in race car builds, preparation, and street performance and custom modifications. Their website is 425motorsports.com. Also, a shout out to PGP Motorsports Park, located in Kent, Washington. Check them out at pacificgp.com. Skull Sim Gear, providing that button box to the series champion, looking like that just might be Garrett D'Alessandro, unless Chris Brunnemer can make some inroads on that deficit. Go to skullsimgear.com for more information about them. The Lorea's donation link, that has been posted in the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch chats. Head back up to the top of each of those if you're looking to donate and get involved. We, of course, also want to thank Tucson Sound Art, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, and Whiplash Media for all of their support here at Pit Stop TV. That will do it. That will conclude our coverage tonight of the Northwest GT3 Challenge at Autodromo Nazionale Monza. I know I'm butchering that a slight bit, but hey, man, it works. We at Pit Stop TV, thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast. Join us again Sunday morning for Pit Stop TV's first endurance event as the Operation E Motorsport iRacing League holds its first iRace of Remembrance, taking to Sebring International Raceway in place of the Anglesey Circuit in England for 6 hours of racing action. That is an event you do not want to miss. Operation Motorsport, if you don't know, is a foundation, a non-for-profit that puts veterans, both Canadian and American, into motorsport roles as a form of rehabilitation and recovery. They normally head over to, I believe, the Mission Motorsport race of Remembrance at Anglesey Circuit in Wales, I believe is correct. And unfortunately, that event cannot happen this year, that 12-hour at Anglesey, so they're hosting a 6-hour endurance event instead. You can donate at operationmotorsport.org, and just check in, of course, Sunday morning for that coverage of that event. It's going to be an amazing, amazing event on Sunday. Cannot wait. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/pitstoptv, on Twitter at pitstoptv_, on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV, and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/c/pitstoptv1. This has been JP Costa with me on the mic tonight, Trey Shuttlesworth behind the scenes. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV, and for all of Pit Stop TV, thanks for watching, have a great night, and we will see you next time.